Yeah, just a few things. We're actually pretty clean injury-wise from the game, which is always a positive. So obviously some guys played a lot of snaps, normal day after the game, soreness and bumps and bruises. But overall, we're in a pretty good spot there. With Patterson and Okuda can turn in the right direction. We'll see what Wednesday looks like for both those guys.
And Coach, how was it getting a couple guys back, Kyle Pitts and Taekwon, that they got some action, a lot of snaps?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, obviously, there was parts of the game that weren't, aesthetically pleasing. Like I said yesterday, post game in the press conference, but we found a way to win, and we needed to make those plays late. It was good for Kyle, but however you have to do it, we needed to get that win, especially at home and in the division. It's much better to start and correct off being 1-0 than being in the hole. So we'll have a good challenge this week with Green Bay. But like I said, I mean, you just go back to the history of the league, the overreaction of week one. Gave a good history lesson today. It's week to week. I know everybody becomes cliche, but if you can stay in the present, understand your challenge week in and week out, and improve, because nothing stays the same.
When you were watching the film, did you pinpoint any of maybe some of the issues you guys had offensive line-wise in the first half?
Well, there's a couple of things here and there. I mean, some of it, got to give them credit, but, technique thing here or there. There's plays you had guys open, protection breaks down. There's plays that our spacing wasn't good enough for different reasons, and protected. And so those are the things that's why I sounded frustrated yesterday. But I've got a lot of confidence in our group. And at the end of the day, we found a way to win. And you adjust and you adapt. Things happen the way they change things. I mean, that's what goes on. And I thought in all three phases we did a nice job of that, and it paid off. The way we rushed the quarterback in the second half, I thought we were getting to him. We hit him a lot. I thought that affected it. Certainly the way we ran the football in the second half. And we need more possessions, but that's on us. We didn't have a lot of penalties. Well, again, one we had, we put us in third and forever. So we got to do a better job.
Some of the line issues in the first half on offense, did that change maybe some of how you were?
Sure. I mean, the way the game's going, I mean, you got a good, like I said, that's a good defense you're playing, and one of their better players gets going. I mean, if we drop back, and shame on me if we let them go off for 9 or 10 sacks. I mean, that's just being hard-headed. I mean, you got to adapt to win the game, and there's things that we can do better. That's not on one person. I mean, that's the beauty about football. Everybody thinks, there's great players in this, but you need everybody, and everybody's got to do their job, and that's going to start with me. But I'm very confident in our group and just happy to get the win.
And you guys flipped the offer for Scotty Miller?
Yeah, he's taking a lot of snaps.
Okay, so
he played a lot of snaps. He did fine, but that's why you have depth there with Scotty. And Scotty didn't take a ton of offensive snaps. We didn't. I thought D played really well. He played physical. They tried to run at him, and I thought he had some big boy fits in the run game. It's kind of common now in the NFL. If you're playing a lot of sub defense, people try to put the DBs into the run fits. D was one of the many guys I thought played a pretty good game.
Well, perhaps I don't care about fantasy football, but what I do care about is
winning, hopefully.
9 of Desmond's 18 attempts were under 10 yards, and only had one pass attempt over 20. That target thing. I mean, is that something that developed because of, like Mike said, the offensive line protection issues, or I mean, is there a sense to try and stretch the field?
Well, let's think. We got sacked on 4, right?
Yeah.
So go by the depth of target. Our depth wasn't good on some of them. Some of them they may have covered. So no, not for lack of trying. Again, we didn't get in a lot of positions. When you're in 3rd and 22, 3rd and 12, it's give and take about one of them pin their ears back, launching a go, depending on how they're rolling the coverage. They lose a corner, they start rolling over to Drake on certain things. So there's a lot of that goes into it. But you need to make a play late. That's the most misunderstood thing. I mean, we can throw a lot of goes. I mean, Carolina threw a lot into the stands. So we could go that route, but we're trying to win the game.
Does the fact that the offense wasn't stringing together a lot of consecutive first downs and able to get in rhythm?
Sure. You don't have many snaps. We got to do a better job there.
Speaking of the offensive line, what do you think of Bergeron in his first start?
Very solid. It wasn't perfect play here or there, but he's a strong player with a tough mindset. I thought he played pretty well for his first start in the NFL.
And you talked about the pivot that the team kind of made at halftime, adjusted some things. Does that speak to the team? I mean, obviously you want things to kind of go as they were scripted, but the fact that the team was able to.
Yeah, sure. That's what coaching is. That's what the National Football League is. It's 60 minutes. I mean, look around the league. I mean, it's just the amount. It's not just the physical aspect. It's the mental conditioning too. To be able to lock in, be situationally aware. I thought our guys handled it pretty well for the most part. Understood the plan, what we were trying to attack, and when we adjust a few things, who we were trying to attack in their protection, and who we were trying to run at or not let get loose in their pass rush.
Are you a naturally patient person?
Depends who you ask. Depends who you ask.
It strikes me that you try to be patient
Sure.
when you're calling a game and on Sundays and even through the week. And is that harder for you, or is that something
No.
that comes more naturally?
No, because I think you got to make decisions. We're paid to do. I think what happens is if you're impatient, sometimes you get into games like that when it's not going your way. Again, you can make the subjective argument all you want, but if you get greedy in certain situations when you don't need to, and you can see people lose the game off that. But there's a cause and effect. I think we don't want to be obvious. You get in the drive. We didn't have one of the few drives we didn't have a penalty that put us back. Like I said, we didn't have a lot of penalties. The ones we had were put us in some bad spots. But when we actually got in a rhythm in the second half and you're in a one-possession game, and the way it was going, that's what allows you to go down and launch the ball when they think it's run and got a good pocket. And Kyle made a good play, and that's what you wanted to see. It was kind of cathartic for Kyle. He had run some good routes, I thought, earlier in the game. Play here or there. We damn near was trying to force the ball to him a few times and finally got it. But he needed to make that play. We needed it. And it's a big play in the game. It's a 7-point game, right? Puts you down there, and then Tyler punches it in. And at that point on, I felt pretty confident because of the way the defense was playing that we were going to make them go the long, hard way.
How important is it to wait on that rhythm to establish rather than try to force it? You're talking about the 3rd and 22s and 3rd and 12s. At one point early, you had.
Well, I think early we did try to pass it more, and it didn't go very well for multiple reasons. And so as you're adapting in the way the situation in the game, now if we were down, obviously you got to play a little bit faster, and you're going to have to push the ball a little bit. But just the circumstances of the game, there's a calculated risk, and there's a feel about when to, things you're looking for about, hey, all right, I see how they're playing this, I see how they're thinking run or pass here, and that's what you're playing that game.
Is it hard for players to be patient? I mean, just because of their age?
Depends on the person. Depends on the person. But again, if you don't have perspective, it's going to be a tough profession for you.
I know it's only one game, and they held the ball for almost 10 minutes longer than you guys did, the 2 for 10 on third downs. Is that, for this particular game, was that more a product, like you said, being a lot of third down and long situations? Or, is that really just that simple?
And there was a couple third down and longs. There was a couple that we thought were 4 down that we didn't execute well, that launched us back, that weren't ideal. Sometimes you're in those, you're trying to give a guy a break, and you're thinking you're in 4 down territory, and didn't go certainly as planned. So there's a couple factors into it. Yeah, we need more drives. I mean, those are just obvious. But what's really obvious too is how you win games. You don't turn the ball over. You score touchdowns in the red zone. It's usually a good recipe if you can do that. And you can control the line of scrimmage when you have to, when they know you're running it, and you got guys like Tyler, Bijan, and the line rolling. You'll win a lot of games. You lose games if you make situational mistakes, dumb penalties, careless with the football. It's usually not a good recipe. Like I said, we needed to win that game. We needed to win at home. We needed to win a divisional game, start the season. We accomplished that. The goal of this thing and the whole journey is week-to-week improvement. It's the way it goes. And if you think that all of a sudden that if you had won 42-0 and had 550 yards, turn around the next week, you can get crushed if you don't continue to improve, understand the opponent. That's what I love about the NFL. There's nothing like it. It's a big-time game every week, regardless of the record. That's what everybody should love about the NFL that are fans, is how competitive it is, and there's so much unknown. So just happy to get the win.
You said just before that Pitts needed that play. Are you talking about in the context of the game, or just because of everything he had been through?
It's just you're coming back from an injury. Like he's a big-time player. And, those are plays he made his rookie year that won us games. Going on, you think about Miami, you think of the Jets in London. I mean, there's plays all over the place, New Orleans. Yeah, everybody needs that. I mean, that's why you get back out, just like TQ needs the snaps. Everybody does. You have to get back out there, and it was good to see.
And I'd asked you yesterday, you guys are now over 500 for the first time as a franchise since the 80s.
Don't care. Just looking at the 2023 season, got our first win. Now all I care about is the Green Bay Packers.
For you, this is the first time also.
I don't care. I just, again, in the present, Mike, all I care right now is to make sure I give you the answers that you need, but give you my real perspective. It's on Green Bay. It really is. I don't celebrate like in-season whatever. All I care about is trying to get this team better so we can play in the postseason.
But do you think it sends a message for your team in some ways?
I just think when you get an opportunity to win at home and you're playing a divisional opponent, and the crowd was unbelievable yesterday, and they did have an effect, especially in that second half, which led that you get the false start in 3rd and 5, you get the 3rd and 10, change your call up, and we avalanche the pocket, and Troy comes out of that thing and does his little rodeo dance. I mean, that was what you need, is what you want. But the crowd had an effect in that. I mean, if you don't think the false start, I mean, it was awesome. It was the loudest I've heard that crowd, and they needed to be rewarded with a win. You don't want to come in here and have some kind of moral victory. You lose that game and you throw for 350 yards. Are you happy? Hell no. We need to win that game. It was important. It was important to our fans. And certainly, when you have an opportunity like that, take advantage. And we get the key is, okay, we got a lot of work to do, and let's get ready for Green Bay. And that's the thing is, like, you get caught up in the day-to-day emotions or whatever the latest, whatever it is. I was going to use a common word, but I got snapped off by my wife. But the latest storyline. So that's what you try not to fall victim to.
The 3 for 3 in the red zone you mentioned being critical. Forgive the elementary nature. I know the results were there, but did the planning and the execution match the results? Did it go as well as you expected it to go?
And when you can score 24 points, you go 3 for 3 in the red zone, you win by 14, that's all you care about. But it's like, I think I know what you're asking, which is not a really good setup, to be honest with you, but yeah, you should.
I know you expected that.
No, I was actually expecting something good, but you try to score touchdowns, you try to win the game.
Okay, I'm sorry. You went into the season and worked on red zone. Obviously, it was a struggle point last year, and you try to, you work towards executing at a higher level. I know the results were there, but was it attributed to all the planning and work? That's a bad question. The red zone went well. Why?
That's why red zone goes well. When you've got multiple options down there, and there's multiple ways to attack. When you're not sitting there trying to go one-on-one, throwing 15 fades in the double coverage. When you got other guys that can score, they bring up field pressure, and you can swing it out to Bijan, and he can put his foot in the ground and go and punch it in the end zone. I call that last mile delivery inside the 5. There's some guys that have it, some guys don't. If you really look at the really good red zone teams, when I've been a part of really good red zone teams, you get guys that can punch that ball in. And we got a lot of guys that can do that now. So that makes you a lot better in the red zone, where you're not just playing one person and it'll naturally work itself out. We need to get down there, in my opinion, want to get down there 7 or 8 times. That's a high goal. That's usually not what happens, but that's what, and you don't want to become obvious. But when you're able to, you have guys like Tyler, too, when they come in there, and when the way he made a really instinctive play, they all kind of came crashing inside, and he was able to bounce that thing and get to the corner and punch it in. Instead of that ball being on the 1 or 2, that's a touchdown. I mean, that's what, to me, when you're a really good red zone team, you got a lot of guys that can do that, and we feel like we do. And it'll be different week to week what you're trying to attack. Schematically, we kind of thought that's where, we were going to have to hit them, especially condensed. But like I said, it'll be a completely different challenge this week with Green Bay.
Is there a similar trait among those guys who have that knack around the red zone? It feels like Cordero has it.
Sure. Yeah, there's things that we look for, but it helps. It helps when you're able to play in multiple formations and personnel groups too, and some things look like run that are pass and vice versa.
Hey, Coach, what are some of the challenges Packers will face? Love, I guess, had a pretty good game, and
yeah, I mean they
4 big plays over there.
They did. I just they're studying, and I think Matt's done a good job. I think Matt's a guy that hasn't gotten a lot of credit. I think people rationalize it. I think Matt's a terrific coach, and I thought yesterday they executed well. When they get down in the red zone and they had a play extension, he worked back and got it one. We saw Aaron Jones take a short little route, and he took off, right? And they took advantage of the turnovers, played a sound football game. They didn't beat themselves. And so that's what you see. Sometimes the stat lines, again, you have to have context to it, which makes it fun. I mean, that's what it doesn't bother me that people look at stat lines because it keeps the game interesting. I mean, that's what I think if you look from a marketing standpoint, the amount of interest people have, whether it is fantasy football or whatever, I think it's good for the game. But a lot of times there's a lot of context lost. And that's what's important. But they did a nice job yesterday. We're excited about the opportunity this weekend.
Defensively, what are the traits of Joe Barry's used throughout the years?
Yeah, he's adapted, different from when probably the Rod Marinelli days. I think, coming out in L.A., a lot of guys have been out there. That's why I never call two schemes the same. Everybody's going to put their own touch on them. They get to a different group of people, but some of the coverage principles, I think they do a good job. They play different packages as well. So they got a good football team.
Because it's still early, will you focus more on just what you saw in week one, or how much last year were your review?
Well, it's different.
Right?
What's that? Well, yeah, I mean, I think it just the obvious is that's again, with good coaching is what Matt did. He played to Aaron's strength. Now he's got a younger quarterback that's been there, got to sit. I think sometimes quarterbacks play too early. I think it could be a detriment to their career, especially if they're not in the right situation. But he obviously understands Jordan. He's been with him for a couple of years. He's calling it completely different, as he should. When you have a veteran quarterback, you may want to do it one way. Sometimes it's not that hard. Play to the strengths. And so I think that's what you saw. I think they're comfortable together. I think there's good communication. They've had a lot of stability there throughout the organization. And so I think that pays off.
You mentioned Troy earlier coming up with that sack. I think the team's first sack of the game. Am I overthinking it to think that he offers something different?
There's been some stories out there. Glad it wasn't something else been trending around the country here, man. So
because of this, he presents this speed asset that a lot of this kind of rebuff defensive line is kind of built on that kind of size and power. If that contrast offers anything in addition to any natural pass rushing ability.
Well, Troy's a unique player. I mean, I think a guy size, instinct, and speed that can legitimately cover tight ends or backs. What allows you to do different things, schematically in the back end, and then he's a good rusher because he's physical at the point of attack. You get into some of the pick games as a rusher, you can collapse a pocket. So can Caden. So when you're rolling from 4-down looks, in the past we've used some 3-down looks, gives you a lot of flexibility week in and week out, and he's a very smart player. So it was good. Like I said, it was like a boxing match a little bit up front, a couple jabs thrown, and then you get that 2-touchdown lead, and then they get in the obvious passing situations. We made him pay. I mean, I don't think he had very many clean looks in the pocket in that fourth quarter. And so that was good by our guys.
Was it last line?
I think that's what I had taught him about it, but it was definitely some kind of Montana rodeo dance. I don't know. I'll have to find out.
The run defense, Coach, I know that's...
Yeah, they caught us in a couple pressures, and they popped a couple runs. But, there's a few times when we had to bow up, which we did that first drive, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, where I thought we collapsed the line of scrimmage, but they did a nice job. I mean, they hit a couple runs and some pressure looks, and like I said, there's always things to clean up, And if you don't have an objective mindset, if you get comfortable when you win, you're going to get crushed. If you become a martyr or you feel like you're a victim when you lose, you'll stay down. And so that's the trick every week in the NFL if you want to be a good team, to try to find ways to improve, because we'll look different second quarter of the season, and you hope to be going this way.